name is Sean Hopkins, and I'm from the law firm of Hopkins, Sorge and McCarthy. I'm counsel for Ellicott Development Company. Also with me this afternoon is Tom Fox, the Director of Development from Ellicott Development Company. And the purpose of this presentation is to give you an overview of the proposed redevelopment of the Chautauqua Point Golf Course, which is comprised of 4 parcels located at 5621, 5687, 5695, and 5710 East Lake Road in the town of Chautauqua.
Ellicott Development Company is a full-service real estate development and management company headquartered in Buffalo, New York. The company was formed in 1972, just over 50 years ago. We currently have about 650 employees. The company was started by Carl Palladino, currently serving as company chairman, and is now led by his son, William Palladino. Ellicott Development Company owns and operates just under 10 million square feet of space across New York State and Pennsylvania. Of that, we have approximately 500 commercial properties. Included in that is over 1,000 residential units in Western New York. And across 11 hotels, we own and operate about 1,400 hotel rooms.
This is an aerial photograph of the project site, which consists of approximately 35.5 acres. As we've mentioned, it's a former golf course. And this just gives you an overview of the boundaries of the project site and the nearby land uses. The property was purchased by 1200 Group LLC in July of 2023. That is an entity owned by Ellicott Development Company. Prior to filing a PUD application dated July 10th, we did attend a series of meetings with town of Chautauqua officials and zoning department staff, and they played an important role in the development of the concept plan, which we'll be presenting. It's also important to note that we have attended a virtual meeting with the Chautauqua Watershed Conservancy and Chautauqua County Soil and Water District, and their input and comments will be considered in connection with the review process. And then finally, a public informational meeting was held in Mayville on August 28th. One of the purposes of this presentation is to give those who were unable to attend the same information that was presented during that informational meeting. As I previously mentioned, the site is 35.5 acres. The current zoning classification pursuant to the town of Chautauqua zoning map is residential lakeside, or RL. As I already indicated, the former use was the Chautauqua Point Golf Course. That use ceased operations a couple of years ago. So in terms of developing the concept plan, we had some underlying important planning objectives. And probably the most important of that was to provide a resort-style living experience on the project site. That means we will be including various residential uses, a smaller mixed-use component, and a wide assortment of amenities. In terms of the residential units themselves, they will include a mixture of for sale units and units that will be available for lease on both a short-term and a long-term basis. We'll be talking about the limited commercial space to be provided in the mixed-use building. And the focus in terms of the overall project will be those interested in an active lifestyle with a wide assortment of on-site recreational amenities that will be available for both residents and their guests. We've also focused on the preservation of open space. And in terms of the maintenance and management of the various components of the project site, it's important to note there will be homeowners associations formed. Those will ensure that the long-term maintenance and ownership of the project site fulfills the planning objectives that we have established.
As Sean had mentioned, the development of Sunset View and the concept for Sunset View is the organization of different home typologies in 3 distinct zones. And those zones are intended to mirror or to complement the adjacent surrounding existing community. At the north end of the property, at the left side of your screen, Sunset View would include a mixed-use building, 4 stories in height, that would include 30 condominium units, along with a potential restaurant tap room on the lower level and a community center with indoor and outdoor space and a number of amenities, including interior fitness room, meeting space, potential sauna, indoor-outdoor pool, sport courts, outdoor picnic area, fire pits, a dog park, and then access to the waterfront area at the northwest corner of the property. Midtown would be a collection of townhome units, approximately 138 in total, in clusters of 4 and 6 unit buildings on new private roads that would be installed across the golf course property in a north-south direction. And the south end of the project, adjacent to the Point Chautauqua community, primarily consisting of single-family home lots, would be the addition of 32 single-family home lots at the south end of Sunset View for individual detached home construction. Peeling away those overlays of the 3 zones, here's the full color site plan, showing again at the north end, the mixed-use building with amenities surrounding, the center section called Midtown with townhome unit clusters, and then at the south end, the single-family home lots, 32 in total. One other thing to point out along East Lake Road at the main entrance to the property, where the golf course clubhouse currently sits, is an existing water tower historic to the property that will be reused in some capacity in perpetuity, likely as signage at the main entrance for Sunset View.
So as previously mentioned, the project site is currently zoned residential lakeside pursuant to the zoning map. What we are proposing, and which will require town board approval, is the establishment of what's known as a planned unit development, or PUD. The legislative intent of that particular PUD is set forth in section 143-19 of the zoning code. And to summarize, the intent is a creative mixture of land uses, incorporating green space and different various residential units. We believe we fulfilled that goal in terms of the layout of the project. And it's also important to note that this project will be subject to an extensive review process. That process is specified in section 143-209 of the zoning code. It does require the issuance of what's known as a special use permit by the town board. In summary, the 3-step process involves the following steps. Step number 1 is approval of the concept plan by the town board after receiving a report and recommendation from the Committee on Concept Approval, which is a committee comprised of members of the town board and the Zoning Board of Appeals. Step number 2 consists of approval of the preliminary plan by the Zoning Board of Appeals. And then step number 3 requires a public hearing to be held by the town board, which will include the opportunity for public comment. And if the town board deems it appropriate, it would then issue the special use permit. If steps 1 through 3 are successful, which we believe they will be, the next steps would be involved submitting fully engineered plans and a technical review by the town as well. It's also important to note that the project does require a coordinated environmental review pursuant to what's known as a State Environmental Quality Review Act. And in summary, what that means is the town board, acting as a lead agency, will be required to consider the potential adverse environmental impacts of the project in connection with its review process. Section 143-22 of the zoning code is titled Concept Plan and Approval / Preliminary PUD Plan, and it specifies 11 categories of information that must be contained within an application submitted to the town requesting a PUD. Within Exhibit 1 of the PUD application, dated July 10th of 2024, we've provided detailed information addressing each of those 11 categories of required information, which I'm going to summarize briefly. Criteria A requires submission of information regarding the present use of the parcel, including the buildings and structures thereon. As I already mentioned, this is a former golf course, which is properly zoned. And also it's important to note that the abandoned water tower that's located on the project site, which Mr. Fox highlighted, will be preserved. Criteria B is a description of the character of the proposed PUD, the number of residential units to be built, the general layout and location, and the type of ownership that shall apply, and then the proposed density of the project. As Mr. Fox mentioned, the project includes 3 distinct components that will provide a wide mixture of high quality housing on the project site. It also does include a limited mixed use component. As I previously mentioned, the project will include the formation of homeowners associations, and there will be a master homeowner association with the intention of ensuring that we're creating a resort style community experience. Tom has mentioned the 3 distinct zones that will be laid out in And each of these components will provide the opportunity for home ownership and lease. The details of that will be specified as we work our way through the review process. Criteria C is a description of the land surrounding the proposed PUD district and evidence that the proposal is compatible with the town's comprehensive planning goals. We've already mentioned the uses in the immediate vicinity. They were depicted on the aerial photograph. And we've designed this project so we believe it will be compatible with the existing community character. In terms of the zoning classifications of nearby parcels, we're adjacent to parcels that are zoned residential lakeside and residential agricultural. And then to the south of the project site is zoned residential district and residential lakeside. We do believe and are quite confident that the project as laid out is consistent and compatible with the planning goals and objectives that are contained in the town of Chautauqua comprehensive plan. This project has been deliberately designed to repurpose the former underutilized golf course as a high-end mixed-use project that will provide a resort-style experience. Criteria D is a description of the estimated costs of completing the project, an indication of whether the applicant has the necessary resources to successfully complete the project. This project, in today's figures, would cost approximately $70 million at full build-out. Obviously, in terms of the final cost of the project, that will be subject to market conditions as the various components are developed. Criteria E is a description of the municipal services that will be requested and that are required for the project. We're well aware of the technical requirements in terms of sanitary sewer, water, and drainage, and all of those technical requirements will be complied with and will be subject to technical review by the town of Chautauqua prior to the commencement of construction. Criteria F pertains to general statements as to how the common open space is to be owned and maintained. The current project layout provides approximately 63.2% of the project site as permanent green space. Any green space located on the site that's not located on the individual lots for single-family homes will be maintained by a homeowners association to be formed by the project sponsor. Criteria G requires a proposed timetable for development, and if the project is to be staged, a general indication of how staging is planned. This project will be developed in 3 distinct zones, as mentioned previously by Mr. Fox. There will be a total of approximately 210 residential units. And in terms of the timing and the sequencing of the development, it will be based largely on market demand. Criteria H requires information relative to the present ownership of all lands to be included within the proposed PUD area. This PUD is limited to that property, approximately 35.5 acres, owned by 1200 Group LLC. Information relative to all 4 parcels is included at Exhibit 7 of the application. Criteria I requires information or statement with respect to potential traffic impacts. We have retained the services of Passero Associates, a reputable traffic engineering firm located in Rochester, New York. They have prepared a comprehensive traffic impact report solely for the purpose of evaluating the potential traffic impacts associated with the project. That report has been submitted to the town of Chautauqua for review. And in the end, the professional opinion of Passero Associates is that the proposed project will not result in any potentially significant adverse traffic impacts. Criteria J is any evidence that tends to demonstrate the applicant's ability to carry out the plan, both physically and financially. Ellicott Development is very well suited to undertake and successfully complete this project. They have a track record of doing so throughout communities in Western New York. Their current portfolio consists of more than $1 billion of successful real estate development projects. So it's quite clear that Ellicott Development does have the ability to carry out this project, and just as importantly, carry out consistent with the concept plan and the planning objectives that we've established. Criteria K pertains to a general description of recreational facilities, open spacing, landscaping, and aesthetic amenities. As we've mentioned, one of the key project objectives that we've established is the preservation of open space and views. We feel we fulfilled that objective. I previously mentioned approximately 63.2% of the site at full build out will consist of green space. And then Thomas talked about the fact that there will be a wide assortment of recreational amenities on site to fulfill that objective of a resort type experience. And those are specified in the second bullet point on this particular slide.
As mentioned, the key principle surrounding the planning of Sunset View, the reuse of the former Chautauqua Point Golf Course, is the preservation of a natural landscape. What this illustration shows is the commitment to at least 40% preserved or dedicated open space for Sunset View. Additionally, as mentioned, approximately 63% of the overall site would be dedicated green space, those areas that are not roads, roof lines, other impermeable surfaces. As part of our early planning, this underlying plan here includes information showing access to and from and across the site for fire apparatus to protect and cover the site, its structures, and its residents and guests in times of emergency, showing access to the north end mixed-use building, all the townhomes in Midtown, and then the single-family home lots at the south end. As mentioned, Sunset View would include a series of home typologies, high-end, high-quality home units, living options. This is a schematic early rendering of the structure at the north end, the 4-story, 3 to 4-story mixed-use building with condominiums, recreational space, community space, and potentially a restaurant or tap room on the lower levels. With this structure and with the others, which I'll show here in the different zones or various living areas, we're communicating a New England or nautical architectural style with clapboard siding, batten and board siding, mixture of roof materials, including asphalt shingles and metal roofing options as well. Stonework, primarily white trims, shutters, hung style window units. Again, a New England or nautical architectural style. This is one of 2 renderings of the Midtown section, the townhomes, which would be offered in upslope and downslope unit styles as they are laid into the hillside and dramatic topography of the existing site. The units on the left in this image would be the upslope units, where we enter at the lower level and have walkout at the higher level. And on the right-hand side would be the downslope style units, where you enter at the higher level, potentially as a ranch style unit, or potentially as a unit that's multi-story with a walkout lower level. The second rendering here for Midtown shows just those units. That would be the downslope style units. Again, you can see a mixture of high quality materials, stonework, clapboard siding, batten board siding, various roofing materials. And those units, again, would be entered at the higher level, potentially a ranch style unit, and some as well with a walkout lower level for a 2-story unit. This is one of 3 renderings of the south end, which would be the single family detached homes, single family home lots, 32 in total. Again, a similar architectural style carried through these various preliminary home designs. As mentioned, Sunset View would be completed based on market demand in a series of phases that we anticipate could last at minimum 3 years. The first phase would include north end and a portion of Midtown as the darkest shade here in the image. North end to the left side of your screen with the mixed-use building, its associated amenity spaces for the community, the waterfront area, and the parking for that phase, or for that north end portion of the project. In addition, phase 1 would include the first phase of Midtown with approximately 28 townhome units over 5 structures on a new private road. Phase 2 of the townhome units in Midtown would include 40 additional units, again, driven by market here, and those units would be completed based on market demand. And at the end would be phase 3 at the highest elevation closest to East Lake Road on the east end of the site, which would introduce another 70 townhome units. The single family home lots in yellow at the south end of the property, 32 in total, would be completed as sold. No anticipation at this point to build those units on spec. Again, those units would be constructed as sold, starting with phase 1 and stretching through phase 2 and phase 3 potentially, again, based on market demand. Thank you for viewing this presentation in Sunset View, a Chautauqua Lake community. For more information and project updates, please visit sunsetviewclc.com.